name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight we have two special guests. As usual, Mr. Max Bendich, my dad, and Mr. James K. Fulater. We call him Jim, the editor and the associate producer of the television show Scriptless, and an actor, wonderful actor. Welcome to the show, Jim. This is your first episode.
Thank you for having me.
That's it. And Dad, it's your 44th episode. It's a 40th episode.
It seems I live here.
Yeah.
Well, everyone loves you here. So, I mean, we all have worked together on the same show, which is pretty cool. And now you're on this show. It was really the person who plays Salvatore. Greg Kritikos was the one who actually was responsible for me meeting you, right? I mean, how did you meet Greg?
Through a film festival, the Winter Film Awards, that I was a part of, the administrative part of it.
Yeah.
And Greg was having a project produced through that.
Right.
And then we met on set. And actually, you were involved in that project also.
Right.
And then I, being involved with that, got to be introduced to you on a brief way. And then through Greg, his involvement in Scriptless,
right.
and really trying to champion me to get a part.
Right.
I kept, trying to get you to take a look at me.
And then,
So,
and finally, I took a look, right?
Yeah. So we were fortunate to be able to cross that bridge.
Well, it's been fortunate for me because you really bring a lot to the table, and
Thank you.
I mean, I love the scene that you had with my dad, the scenes that you've had with my father, and you've had fun, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Look, as long as they were successful,
Yep.
and that is the whole
Yep.
thing. And we worked together, and that is the best thing. And we're still working together,
that's it.
and there still is an end to all this.
No, well,
And
but Dad, the end really, each episode is an end. So it's not like one show. So you have Scriptless. We just submitted episode 2, which is nice.
Right.
So, and we're working on episode 3. And we're also thinking of a different, there's going to be a slight twist in season 2 of Scriptless, which I'm excited about. But maybe not too many spoilers at this point. But you're going to be involved in it?
and
You are?
I hope look, I'm part of it.
You're part of it. And Jim is going to be very much a part of it. I mean, he's going to help me write it, and he's going to help direct, and he's going to help produce.
And we hope for the best.
It's going to be
because
great.
we have two wonderful people.
Not just two. You know who else? Chris is on the show. Remember the woman who played? She was the woman who I had a child with. That was Chrissa, and I worked with her a couple of times. And you worked with Chrissa before too, right?
Right.
And we're going to have Pete and Peter, a couple of people. And one of the guys, this one guy named Pete, who was he was on the show twice. He's friends with one of Wendy's cousins. So, how could I get rid of him? He's part of the family. Right?
And he's a very good actor, very good to work with. It's a
that's great.
pleasure and a lot of fun to work with people who are really striving and listening and working toward the same goals.
And there's some really good scenes.
I think that's what we all do.
Right.
We're
But,
working
we all strive to do that.
That's right. We're all trying.
But Jim is a professional actor. I mean, he's done stage. He's the real deal, and he's a really good editor. I mean, I spend a lot of Saturdays just marveling at how he could take these things and put it together. And sometimes I got it in the wrong order, and they'll say, "Wait a second, we should put this over here," and then all of a sudden the story makes sense, right? I mean,
Right. Well,
That's how we learn.
That's it.
We know who are the best,
Right.
and we're not up to that part yet. You maybe eventually me also.
No, you're great.
And
I mean,
look,
a little later we're going to show a couple of clips of you, and you're going to be pretty amazed. I was amazed. And for episode 2, your scene with Jim, who plays Detective Kazak, that was one thing that Greg kept on saying. We need a cop. So we got a cop, and Kazak was, just for those who are new to the show, Kazak was a character in Cagney and Lacey that was my partner on Cagney and Lacey when I used to work on Cagney and Lacey. So it's interesting. I wanted most of the characters on Scriptless have some sort of relationship to people I knew in my past, or characters or something with my past.
in other words, once you know somebody,
Yeah.
you know that it's wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
And when they're wonderful to work with, it makes it easier for everybody.
Oh yeah, and Jim, you could speak to that. I mean, isn't it true? I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. And that's a lot of what you really want with, you want to surround yourself with people that bring in not only their best, but make you bring in your best.
That's what it is. You are doing it for me, and I'm helping you do it for me. I'm helping you do it for me. I give you a little advice maybe, and you elaborate on it.
Sure.
And the same thing. And it adds up, it adds up.
and we're talking about having a meeting. You may come or may not, because you're already good. But we're having a meeting of the core people in season 2 that we're going to sit down with, and really, because we're going to have a lot of people coming in through the show, and just to make sure that everyone's on board and that they know, to help elevate the other actors, and to just keep that professional attitude, because we go really quick on. I mean, how quickly? I mean, we try to do an episode a day. And one of our cameramen who's shooting this episode is one of our cameramen on Scriptless, Mr. Matt Bilzak, and I appreciate you being on the show today. But I mean, we have this crew, and it's like a family. I mean,
Sure.
And he's the grandfather. He's my dad, but he's like the person on the show.
And that's the way it works best, is if everybody really, chips in with that attitude. Speaking of my past, I come from a community theater background.
Right.
And a community theater background means you did everything. You were lights one show, you were sound another, you were an actor for this one. If you were lucky, you got to direct.
Right.
You could go from being a star in one play to being, the stage manager for the next.
Right.
And with that attitude, that means no one's more important than the next guy, because you don't know what you're going to be next, but also to keep everybody in a community spirit. Right. And I think that really is what I hope we capture going forward with Scriptless,
Right.
to make sure everybody's on the same page going forward, and like you said, raising everybody up.
And also, I'm so amazed that I actually have a colleague who has so much experience that we're already talking about next steps and next projects and things like that. So I'm really excited, and you're having a good time.
Well, I usually talk with you, and not with you, I just saw you, and you're telling me just how things are happening, what I should do,
Right.
and I'm grasping that, and I'm learning, and I'm having a wonderful time working. That's the whole
That's it.
thing.
And we got to get you in more scenes. Because of the way where the location was for the first one, it was a little bit difficult to get a lot of your scenes in. So we still have to get at least 3 more episodes of scenes with you. So, but you're definitely in the first 7. We've already shot the first 7 episodes of you, but we've shot 10 episodes already. Mm-hmm. So we still have to get 3 more episodes of you to stick into those shows. And it's amazing. And as you were editing, we noticed in the beginning episodes that we might have missed some things, and we were able to actually put things together. And the flow in episode 2, I think, is pretty good. I mean, and you were even saying, there's something happens before it that leads into it, and
Right.
because there were a couple of times, before that was Patchwork, and that was something that actually Greg and I worked on, a couple of things like telephone calls, things like that. And
Right.
I'm so happy you were watching it, because I missed some of those things.
And the other thing is and what I love about the artistry of editing is sometimes I hear things. I hear the music that needs to play to a scene.
Oh, that's right.
While you're putting it together. And then when you get to add that to kind of finish it out, it's so exciting, and it's so fulfilling that, this really does have that flow. And this, you can see where the characters, the arcs are, and then when you're putting the pieces, what happens over here makes sense over here, and all of that. That's the great thing about editing.
I love how you did put like edgy music when there was like intense, confrontational conversations. You're gonna love it, Pop. I can't wait to. We have a copy for you too, so you can watch it at home.
Look, I'm in it.
Right.
I love it.
Right.
I'm going to love it better the more I know about it.
We should actually have a
and I know-
screening of it in your place, because they do movies all the time where you live. So maybe we could have a screening over there and bring the cast in. That might be fun, actually.
Sure.
We could think about that.
It's not that it has to be fun, because we're doing it, we're laughing, we're enjoying ourselves.
Well, you know what? It sounds like so much fun. Maybe we should. Would you like to share like a couple of clips of you on Scriptless?
Why not? Yes.
Okay. So,
Why not?
Okay, so-
Look, it'll make the picture that better. That's the
excellent.
whole
So,
thing.
so I'd like to share with the audience Max Bendich as Max in Scriptless. Max Bendich.
Da 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 da. Sam,
Logan's here, Dad.
Sam. Oh,
Can't take it.
oh, yeah.
Happy reunion.
Yeah,
I
happy.
never, I
Whoop-de-doo.
never expected it. I never.
Pop, please. Please.
Make sure he sits
Guys,
down
sit down.
good, okay?
Yeah, sit
Pop,
down.
please sit.
Down.
Yeah, it's been a long time
Try,
since you took care
try and
of
get away. Try.
Pops,
Oh,
look, I want to introduce you to somebody, all right?
please,
Mimi, come here. This is Mimi.
Hi, I'm Mimi.
darling.
Nice to meet you.
When you, not one, two people for the price, two for the price of one. Look at it.
Pop,
I'm
we're
a
here to
hus-
stay. We're back for good.
Max.
Oh, Salvador.
How are you?
Right now I'm a kid again. Everything is good.
God bless you.
I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here. Please sit down and
Max, you sounded upset on the phone. What's the matter?
I'm afraid of Salvatore. He's after my son. And I heard this from many people.
So, where are the girls?
Sam took them away.
Do you know where?
No.
Okay. So, did you hear what happened to Salvatore?
Yes, I know all about it.
Okay, so take good care of my dad.
I definitely will.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Take
All
care.
right, all right. Have a good night. See you in a couple days.
And the Oscar goes to Max Bendich.
Yay! Yay! Ladies and gentlemen.
So, Dad, how do you like seeing yourself on TV?
I like this.
And that's the show. Those are how many episodes? Like
There's 3 or 4 different episodes.
4 different episodes of Scriptless.
And look, I learned from every one of them.
Yes.
I still think I could have done something more when he comes back and he tells me that he wants to be part of it,
Right.
and that he says that you are, you had it and you
I ruined
made
it.
and did,
Yeah.
and meaning the way he was going to come in at that time. Now I think
We're talking about
it,
Sam, Noah's character.
he
Noah
really-
Forrest.
the way he was going to come in as an equal partner.
Right.
And it could never, it could never be able to happen.
See, that's what
Never.
you're telling me. But when he was sitting here, you said you could be, it's going to happen. I don't know about you, Bob.
And
No.
you know what? That's the pain of a true actor is always wishing you could go back and fix something you've thought of
This,
later.
that definitely, because what do I remember? I gave him all his. He wanted a third. He got a third without. No, he got without question. He left there to come back bad. Now he comes back not only with him. He comes with he himself. He comes back with a partner, and what was a happy. And I don't know if I did it, when they tell me that she's pregnant, and I know I'm going to be a grandfather. Did I? Did I?
A couple of things. You know what? Because we actually showed this one. That's the only episode that we actually showed on LMC TV, but and it was wonderful. And we'll probably show it again. But what you said, I said, how do you know she's pregnant? She's probably lying. And you said, well, you said, how long you pregnant? She said, well, I'm 12 weeks. She said, if the baby comes in 9 months, she's
No,
pregnant. If
no.
the baby doesn't come in 9 months, she's not.
No.
That's-
no.
He came up with some good lines.
No, really, that's what I. When she says, "I'm 6 months pregnant."
No, 12
so
weeks.
her
12
brother-
weeks.
his brother is hollering, "They're not married," and they're doing.
I'm saying that,
Who
right.
wants it to wait? Listen to this. Listen, wait 3 months. If she has a child, fine. If she hasn't got a child, okay.
I guess that's the way to look at
See,
it.
but he winds up, I'm not going to throw a spoiler out there, but in the beginning, the show was called The Prodigal Son, and Jessica knew that, right? Your girlfriend Jessica had mentioned that she noticed that it was The Prodigal Son, right?
Sure.
So, and my father, when he was a senior citizen 20 years ago or 30 years ago, he did a show called The Prodigal Son.
Believe it or not, the prodigal son and a senior citizen
I mean, a senior
I'm the
center, a
father.
senior center.
with 2 sons, and we had 3 women who were artists, and they made a mural from there to there. And what was that mural? A big farm, people working, and everything is satisfied. And I'm looking out, and all of a sudden he comes in and says, "I want my inheritance." And okay, what am I going to do? We give him his, and not only that, he was supposed to get married to some gal. Everything was going fine. All of a sudden, he wants his inheritance. Now, this is what actually happened. So we keep on working without him, and time passes, and somebody comes in with horses and things, and he says, "Look, I just saw your son, and oh, he's fine. He's living like the prince." And now another year, about a year passes. He's coming again. "Now tell me more about my son." He lost all his money. He's in rags. He doesn't know what's going to happen, and he's lost. He's a lost soul. And at that moment, a little later, I'm the owner, and one of my workers comes over. There's a beggar coming in, and who comes in? My son. And well, what could I do? His brother was going to marry. His brother was going to marry the girl that he was with, and now, but on that show, he comes back. He gets back everything that he wants. He gets the girl. He gets, no, what was it called actually?
And he actually wrote it.
And what did I
he wrote
wear?
it.
I wore a wig for
A
a
beard.
beard. I wore a sheet. You to tear it open. You know, this was at the time of Moses or whatever time, it was. And I had it, and I was sitting there, and now the family is together.
Right.
Was it good for them? I don't know, but
But Dad, the reason why, and that's why the first episode had to be The Prodigal Son, an homage to my father, you know, and
no, really,
and
it happened. This happened about 25
Maybe-
years ago.
yeah,
you know,
maybe 30
in a
years
senior center. We made plays, and it was called The Prodigal.
and that was it. And I didn't know, I didn't know Scriptless was going to go 10 episodes, and and I didn't think it'd be a second season. I didn't know anything at that point. I was just happy to get the first episode. Unfortunately, it took a year to get the second. But it's interesting, but you're going to really like. I think even though you have like you have a brief scene, but it's a very intense scene, wouldn't you say? With you,
Yeah.
with your character. I think it's the way you look. You have like you. So you started off.
I lived that way. That's all.
It's my
I'm
life.
living-
But the interesting thing was, I until Greg came on the show, there was not going to be any kind of mafioso kind of thing. And then as soon as he came on the show, what other kind of show could we have? And then all of a sudden he became like, the Godfather. And that, to me, that was a twist that I never thought in a million years was going to happen to Scriptless. But it became a very interesting show, I think. What do you think?
I think it's great, and what I really like about it is the improv nature of it. You really don't know which way it's going to head, and there's nothing else like that. Having it be, the mafia type of thing, but also being more, it's almost in the form of a soap opera, which makes it really unique and really interesting and a lot of fun to work on.
Right.
And so you have a lot of room to play, and yet still get your story, out.
Right.
And you are the perfect grandfather, the perfect godfather.
But
Keep on talking.
but one thing, Jim has been very helpful, and the good thing. I mean, why is he helpful? Because I'm open to it. Because
That's it.
the
We
whole
must-
thing is the
all
only
of
way a
us must
person
be
can
open to it.
That's right.
To it,
Right.
something.
Right. And the thing is, if you're not open to it, then it ruins the whole project. But when you're open to it, then you're able to accept other people's ideas and to put it into I think it works out pretty good.
Sure.
That way. I mean, would you? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we have a very good collaborative effort going on.
right.
And, that really comes down to the core of the acting. And that's really what this is all about.
That's true.
And to be a good actor, you have to listen. it's not about what you're doing. It's about listening to what's being given to you.
Oh, could you say that expression?
Now,
Yeah.
it's acting to be expressive, not impressive.
And that's it.
That's it.
Expressive,
I know.
not impressive. And
It's coming into my. I know I'm trying to be that.
Yeah,
and
well,
that
you're doing
little
a good
by little,
job.
I think, again, not brag. I'm succeeding.
Yeah.
Why? Because I've lived it already. I think whatever it was,
he's done it all.
That's right.
I was.
But you know, the one thing that's interesting, I mean, it really hit me when he said the difference, you know, to act to be expressive rather than impressive. We've worked with actors that are more, you know, trying to impress people one way or another. I've done this, you know, or you know, like when you're having a conversation, they're just trying to top you or whatever. Rather than when in this kind of thing, we're really looking to elevate the story, and with that, the acting gets elevated. You
So
know?
when you say, when you say that it's a family,
Right.
a family that doesn't want to say I'm better than you and I'm better than you. Oh, you're not so good, and
Unless
you're
that's
all
part of the
good.
story. Unless that's part of the story. And if it's part of the story,
Oh, right. Excuse me, sir.
no, because and that is, and I mean, I spoke to Jim about this. I mean, we were looking at episode, was it 2 or 3? It was 3, I think. And I told you that there was a situation where a beautiful girl in real life is always expecting guys to like bow down to her. But I had switched it around that really this beautiful girl was coming to bow down to a guy. You know what I mean? And normally she was in a role reversal situation. It took about 4 or 5 takes for her to accept that this is what the director wanted and to actually do it.
Right.
And that person's, you know, I mean, the thing is, because we're so limited in time, I can't afford that luxury of doing the 4 or 5 takes to have someone actually do what you're asking them to do as a director. You know, so so that's a tough lesson.
Sure, sure. And again, you have to leave your, you know, ego at the door. You come in, you pay attention to what's being said.
Right.
You give, you know, where you want to go or what you're being told to do.
Right.
And there's always, the beauty of that is in that room, there's always room for some freedom to do what you want.
Right.
The director gives you the direction,
Right.
but if you're a smart actor, you can play in those parameters.
Right.
And it's listening, and it's paying attention, and taking it where you want it to go.
Right.
It's a little journey.
Right.
And you know, if you want to go there,
And
it's a lot
making
of fun.
suggestions if you want to go in a different place.
Sure.
Don't surprise people too much.
But again, I usually forget the word, but improv.
Yes.
The idea about improv, according to me, is that if I'm talking to you, I want you to have as much, even better than me, because you should know what I'm talking about, and then you're going to give it to me word for word, and the same thing with you. We never spoke that way before,
Right.
and there's a possibility you're giving me a hint how to answer you, and I'm giving you a hint.
And like my father lives at Kate House, which is a assisted living, but it's also independent living community. They had like people coming in to do, in quotes, improv. But what he used to do with improv was, can you top this, right? So you would give people zingers rather than elevate. Right. And since he's been working on Scriptless, and even since he's been on the show almost 50 times, you know, he's realizing that it's more about elevating the whole project rather than elevating the individual.
Right. Right.
And something else, I never see a movie, since I'm doing this, the same way now. Never. No, but that's the truth. Because I know that there's a possibility. I'm looking at a scene that was taken maybe about a month before or a month of, and it was clipped together, you know. The editor puts it together because he envisioned this is what's going to happen at that scene, and this is what's going to happen at that scene. And because of that, it isn't you, it's the other fellow, really. It isn't me. The one I'm talking to has to know that how to answer me, improv. And
But the other thing is, he doesn't necessarily have to know until you finish. I mean, if it's like real, if it's real conversation, you're actually listening. So you're responding to what's being said. So you don't have to know ahead of time, really. You have to know where the story's going to go. But I like it to be spontaneous in terms of, you know, like, but have some idea of where the story's supposed to end up. What do you think?
I agree. My favorite part about of doing improv, and I'm always reluctant to embrace improv acting. I like a script. I like to know where I'm going. But what I find with improv is it helps you think faster. The more you do improv, and again, it falls back to listening. If you listen, you're going to tell me where we're going. And then if you listen to me, I'm going to take it a little farther. And then it's your turn and my turn to go back. And as long as we're listening to each other, we can take this journey together.
And I'm sorry.
When one person tries to
That's what I was
lead
gonna
it
say.
one way, the other person is either left to follow or to try to veer it back to the way they want to go.
Right.
And that's why it's very dependent on both
And that ruins
people.
the show.
Yeah, it's dependent on both people listening to each other.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to say about improv. So here I was in the scene where I'm telling my son about she's married, another 3 months, another thing. But what is the whole thing doing? And that's what I should have said. I was still given the same thing. I don't know, and I said what I had to say. If I said it the way I think I should have said it, it might have sounded a little.
Daddy, that scene, Daddy, it's
no.
funny. I'm going to be 60 years old, I call you Daddy. But you did a great job in episode 1. And when you said that thing about, at the end of the pregnancy, if there's a baby, it's good. If there's not a baby, she lied. Whatever it was. And I thought, how did you think of that? That was like a great line. And it came out so naturally. But one thing I wanted to talk about what you were saying, Jim, is that you're such a good actor that even when people throw you curves that veer the story off because the camera's running and you're a professional, you go along with it. No matter how you feel like, wait a second, why didn't that person follow direction? But you go along with it because the show must go on.
Sure. Well, the first rule of improv is you can never deny.
Right.
You can say the sky is orange, and I'm going to say, yes, the cloud effect of them seeding the clouds has made the sky orange.
Right.
I'm never going to say the sky isn't orange.
Right.
And following that first rule, you can take me any way you want, and I'll agree with you, and then veer you back to the way I want it to go,
Right.
or the way the director wants it to go, more importantly.
Right.
And again, it falls down to active listening.
Right.
If I pay attention to what you're saying, it will give me clues where we're going and also clues on how to get you back.
That's it.
Because if you're not on course, then I can say, yes, I understand, but don't you realize that Joe said this and we need to take that course and
it
let's
screws
go
up
that way.
I'll just put it, when people go off the storyline, it's unusual that it gets better. I'll put it that way.
Sure. And it's a lot of work for everybody
That's right,
involved, and
right.
it makes it harder.
And makes people, it's an irritation. But I'll go someplace else with that.
What causes someone to go off the
Ego.
story?
What is it? Expressive versus.
They're trying to
impressive?
be impressive instead of expressive. It's their ego. They
No.
want to be something.
But you're spoiling the whole thing. You're supposed to be helping this fellow.
That's the ego thing, is that you're really only concerned about yourself.
And even if you're concerned about yourself, will the picture be any better?
Well, you know what,
It
Dad?
depends on what they think is good.
And you know what? We're not going to be able to answer that question now because, unfortunately, all good things come to an end. And there's only one thing left to say. That's a wrap. Good night, folks.